in 2016, you competed in the national cooking competition, MasterChef Mexico. So talk a little bit about that experience.
Mm-hmm. I'd seen the show MasterChef in Australia, which I now realize must have been one of the first seasons when they initially started.
Yeah.
And I had a tiny little idea of what it was.
Yeah.
So then, but I wasn't watching it in Mexico. I hadn't really paid attention at all.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't pay attention to Mexican TV in general. So
yeah.
Just one day from the museum, which I still know the staff and especially administrators that gave me a call and said there's going to be a casting from MasterChef and that they were going to invite the Mennonite community to come and present something, and they were looking for someone from this community. Yeah. And they had a few questions or kind of requirements that a profile that they were looking for. Yeah. And someone who who's more traditional, who didn't necessarily have to speak Spanish that well, and so on. I said, well, I don't fit that profile for one. Yeah. For the other, I was over my head with work. It was like I have no time for that. Yeah. And on the other hand, I didn't think I was nearly good enough to be on a competition like this. Yeah. I do like cooking. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy trying different things. I mean, throughout my travels, that's one of the things I most enjoy, to get to know new dishes and new plates and all of that. So I'm interested in it, but didn't pay much attention to it. Yeah. And we had another mutual friend, so our group of friends was like, oh, you should enter. And so we made sure that she had all the bases and requirements and met with that and went to the competition. But then the morning of the casting, the administrator of the museum calls me and says, Clara, please show up, come, because they'd had quite a few women canceled that were signed up who were going to come. Yeah. And
so the casting was on in Cuauhtemoc and Chihuahua?
The casting was at the museum.
Oh, okay. Here. Wow.
So the general casting was done in Juarez, but they did a special casting, which they do occasionally in different areas. But they did it. Stopped here in Cuauhtemoc, a few people, not the whole crew, but just a few, stopped to do a special casting
at the museum.
Having invited all the Mennonite community. Yeah. And so they were just at the museum where it's like, we really need a few more people here to show up. Yeah. And I'd been working all night long, which I will sometimes do when I'm busy. And one of my helper, who's a good seamstress, that's sort of the time she can work. So I'd worked through most of the night. Yeah. I was tired. I had little to sleep, and I hadn't prepared anything. Yeah. Which are all things that I was telling the administrators. Like, figure something out. Something simple. Yeah. But just come here before by 11 or so. Yeah. So, there's all kinds of hoops we had to jump through to make this happen. But I did show up just as the last person was presenting their dish, and I showed up and run inside, get changed. They wanted someone traditional looking, which I mean, I do have traditional dress that I've worn at the museum. Mostly I don't wear it in my everyday life, but just put that on and ran in, present my dish, and so they're talking with the people who were there, and occasionally, but I soon saw that they did have quite an interest in me. So I figured, I guess it wasn't my dish wasn't too bad.
Now, what was it that you presented for them?
Vranakia, and with just a simple jam, homemade jam, and It's a very typical dish, but nothing fancy. And but I mean, and part of it is I don't know what they were looking at for all of it, but there's so many different aspects that are considered in a competition. But sure. I did get an invitation, as well as my friend, to come to the grand casting, and it was just step by step further on from there.
Yeah. And so you went through the kind of bigger casting, and then for the show itself, how many were selected?
So the castings are done in different areas of the country. It's done differently in different generations. For us, there were then 300 were selected to come to a bigger casting. And then it was stage 2, 3, and 4, where it was filtered down to 18 people.
Oh, wow.
And the 18 are then selected to go into who are the 18 competitors, really. And so that's when we got into the big game.
Exactly. So all of a sudden, you're in this. Was the show itself filmed in Mexico City, or where was that?
It's filmed in various places. So a lot of it is in installations in Mexico City, and then the retos de campo, as they're known, they'll be in different areas, and we would sometimes travel for that.
And kind of showcasing like the different foods from the different
foods,
areas
different areas of Mexico. So we had the coffee plantations, and we did see the first team challenge was done in San Miguel de Allende, and so that was a very interesting experience. Colonial town, and
absolutely. So what was it like going from here, that you had everything kind of going, you were working like crazy, and then all of a sudden you're in this very public spotlight on this television show? Is that like?
Well, to be competing, for one, I had to then make room for all the filming. Which drove me half crazy. Because all of a sudden I had, 3 months work to squish into a very short time.
Absolutely.
And which I ended up taking one of the wedding dresses with me and working in my spare time at the show in between filming. And evenings and nights, which, our evenings were very short to begin with. And then I'm there half the night still sewing away to make sure this dress gets done.
Absolutely.
And the good part for me was that we were filming, but it wasn't airing at the same time yet. So I could still move around and do my work relatively anonymously, which is
for sure.
Which is usually what I prefer.
Absolutely.
I'm happy to talk to people, but I am more of an introvert. So
absolutely.
Because once it was on air, that's when it started exploding a whole lot more.
Absolutely.
And it was a huge change. I've never sought fame that way. I never cared to be on TV. I commented more than once that I would happily do this competition. I would have been easily convinced to the competition if it wasn't if it wasn't taped and it wasn't so public.
Absolutely.
I would have been a lot happier to do it then. But yes, you achieve things very publicly, and you fail very publicly if things go wrong there, and it is a competition. Sooner or later, you will be out.
Absolutely.
So, which then also becomes very public. But,
absolutely. Well, and then knowing the results kind of ahead of time, and then like it's kind of unfolding, like.
That's the other thing that we in the competition knew, who was gonna be off the show that's airing on Sunday.
Exactly.
So to sort of keep that to ourselves as well, and we all have a non-disclosure part to our competition there too. Yeah. So to keep it interesting for the other people.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the interesting thing is like, so they did this special casting here in the campus. And so they were looking, specifically for people from the Mennonite community to be participating. Did you feel that you were expected to be a spokesperson for the Mennonite community in some ways?
Part of what the casting is done, and there's special invitations extended to numerous cultures and groups of people in Mexico.
Yeah, for sure.
While it's a competition, it is at the same time a showcase of all of Mexico.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's 18 competitors, but we have 32 states in Mexico, and the food is very, very regional.
Absolutely.
We have completely different food here in the north compared to even Monterrey, and the further south you go, it's completely changes.
Yeah.
So being a national TV show, that's part of what is looked for. That it will. There's a chance that everyone gets a chance to showcase their part.
Absolutely.
And you have to prove your worth. And to be eligible and get in, but so special groups that they'll hear about or that may be interesting. The production makes an effort to specifically invite them. So that was the special casting in the museum. Someone somewhere told them about the Mennonites, and you know that it's a group of people who've lived here for a long time, and so they were interested. So yes, in a way, I knew that I would be representing Mennonites as a community. But I am also not the traditional Mennonite who wears very traditional garb and who's much more reserved, as I see it, mostly because they don't speak Spanish.
Yeah, for sure.
And so the mold, if we have a mold for the Mennonite woman, didn't fit me anyway.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, while I wanted to show that there is a little more to the Mexican view than just a photo. The image Mexicans in general may have is the person, the couple, man or a woman, selling cheese on the street, cheese and cookies on the street corners.
Absolutely.
So that's sort of what they know about it, and the occasional report on TV. And so being this show, it would be a larger showcase, and they'll see a little more about our culture and life and how we are. So yes, I, in a way, wanted to make it worth or show that there's more to it. I don't normally wear a head covering, for example, but I knew that on the show that would be something that would identify me. And it would make me a little different from the others, which isn't a bad thing. And I also wore dresses, while not so very traditional. I wore dresses that were more in keeping of the Mennonite view or worldview, that as they would like to be seen.
For sure.
And so while still not, I feel okay with that. I wanted to give a good representation while opening other people's minds.
Absolutely. And so in a way, you were also sort of like a spokesperson for Mexico, like in a larger way, like to the Mennonite community, like as well, and that impacting your decisions there on the show. I didn't want to represent or do anything there that would be very offensive to our community. Absolutely.
I mean, I don't have to do what is normally prescribed, for the Mennonite woman. I've never completely fallen in those footsteps. I would have been married at 20 or something like that if I wanted to. So I've never followed that mold, but I still wanted to do us proud.
Yeah, exactly. So how has life changed and or stayed the same since being on the show?
Not in large parts that it's changed.
Yeah.
I would have had, if I were interested to go into something culinary, a restaurant or opening a place or things like that, it would have given me a lot of exposure and opened a lot of doors.
Yeah.
So, I mean, a year and a half, 2 years down the line, I know that there is still some doors that would be open to me because of it. I could do an apprenticeship. I could go into one of the larger restaurants or a nicer restaurant that that a normal person might not get a chance that easily.
For sure.
Especially with having not studied culinary arts. But it wasn't really where I was heading. I have considered that previously. I have really thought about it now, but it's not where life took me. A few months before the competition, I had started midwifery training. And that was my teenage dream. So it was always in the back of my mind, and I sort of knew even then that if I had to choose one or the other, if I, that midwifery would win out.
Yeah.
And so that's more the direction I've taken, and
for sure,
I haven't opened up a restaurant.
Yeah.